Who's leading?
Ruben, I guess.
It's the after show! Welcome everybody, live from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. Hasn't it been fun out here today?
It has. I love opening day because there's not many people here yet, so you can really like walk around and it just feels like, I don't know, it's just like Christmas morning.
And the carnival just opened 1 minute ago,
Yeah, 1 minute
so
ago.
it might start to pick up a little bit behind us. It'll be interesting to see.
I don't know what time the lemonade stand opens.
Yeah, it's got to
Doesn't
be
that
now.
sound good?
It is-
Quench that thirst.
It's hot.
Yes.
It actually is hot.
Hey, I'm gonna
in the
roll my
sun.
sleeves up.
Seriously.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's that time.
If you're watching us right now, please rescue us and bring us. We're tied up to microphones. We can't go anywhere.
But I mean, it is a perfect day in terms of, I mean, it being sunny outside as
Yeah.
well.
A little
You guys
breeze
usually tell me
helps.
it's awful usually during this
Well,
time.
ladies,
A lot of
I
times
am
it
not
is,
hot
yeah.
at all in a dress, so I suggest that you lightly clothe your body today.
Yeah. A dress would be good. I don't know if it's jeans weather for the ladies today. You know, it
Yeah.
feels more like
Just be
jeans,
careful.
shorts,
It's
or a
windy,
dress.
so be careful with
Yeah.
the length of the dress because you might
Put on some biker
get a
shorts,
little
you'll be
peep
good.
show. Yeah, biker shorts are a good idea.
So if you caught us during the show, we showed you I'll just use the term diverse assortment
Yeah.
of food that you
Yep.
can find out here during Rodeo, a couple of different things. And Ruben is actually live inside, showing us some more food. What's
He's
up,
got
Ruben?
a sweet tooth going on today.
Well, you know, we started savory and we finished off with sweet. If you guys were watching the Fox 26 morning show, you know right around, 6:45 this morning, we were at Mia Bella's. And they are one of the new food vendors this year. You can find them between NRG Center, that's where they do the cutting horse competition and the horse show, and the Hideout. So you got to kind of look for them. But when you find them, wood-fired pizza. They made me a biscuits and gravy pizza that was delicious. I'm not even lying to you. And I wish I had some of it to show you, but there's none left. Anyway, and now we have traversed all of NRG Center, and I mean all of NRG Center. I've got my 10,000 steps in. I've got your 10,000 steps in. Anyway, we made it all the way to Stubby's. World famous cinnamon rolls. We've been munching on this. We've been munching on this. You know. Yeah. Nadia, super intern, is here with us. Nadia, you having fun?
I am.
Okay, good. All right, so I've been munching on this, but I just want you guys to know that this is quite delicious. It's saucy, it's gooey, it's delicious. It's good for you. Covers all the food groups. Thank you. Nadia, find me some coffee. Anyway, I'm telling you, this is the good stuff. And if you don't know about Stubby's, you are not a Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo veteran, because Stubby's is where it's at. Morning, noon, night. Get you some. All right. What else do I have to tell you? Ag Adventure. You like little critters? You like interesting aromas? That is definitely the spot for you. Anyway. Come on down, come see me. I'm right here. Come say hi. Post it up in front of Stubby's. I'm going to be here for the next 30 minutes. You know, back to you guys. Get another cinnamon roll.
Enjoy every bite. My goodness, it sounds good. 150 pounds of sugar a day to make those. Isn't that nuts?
Ruben is so slim,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, and he eats constantly.
For a living.
Yeah.
He started
all the
off
time.
on pizza at 6
But you know
a.m.
what his trick is though? Since we're on the after show, I can tell it. He really only eats one bite of everything
Oh,
he
is
does.
that right?
He doesn't go on to eat the entire swoop,
Oh.
and that's how he stays so
I
slim.
feel so misled.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think everybody probably thinks that, but that's his rule. One bite.
You know, it just occurred to me before we get to the weather forecast that you remember the Back to the Future trilogy? You know, like they ended up going back to the Wild West, I think, in like Back to the Future 3. It was
Yeah.
ridiculous. But you had a mixture of future and past. I have this ridiculous watch on right now. This is the most country cowboy.
It's unwesternly.
It looks
It
ridiculous.
doesn't go with your outfit at all.
No, it doesn't go with my outfit at all. Hi.
Hi.
Come on
Hey.
in. Yo, come on
You're in the after
You
show.
live right now.
The after
Hello,
show.
welcome.
It's your lucky day. How you doing?
How
All
are
right, how y'all
What's
doing?
your name?
I'm Alicia.
Well, hello, Alicia, everybody.
Are you working out here?
Yes, I do the clown house.
Okay.
All meals.
I was already in the clown house.
Yeah.
I got
So
lost in there.
Yes, I want to help you and your daughter out of that. Yeah. I watch y'all every day.
Oh, that's so
appreciate
I
it.
love
sweet.
26.
Oh,
love
thank
you back.
you.
Oh, it's so wonderful to meet you.
I love that.
That's so
Thank
nice.
you. Have a blessed
Nice to
day.
meet you.
Love to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, here, bye. Well, that was nice,
That was
wasn't
a
it?
nice
One of the
surprise.
nicest people out
I
here.
It
know.
really
I
was a
love
nice
our
surprise.
viewers.
So let's check out the forecast.
Yeah.
Because it is quite warm out here today. So warm that DeLon had to take off his chaps.
Yep, they're
Yeah.
gone.
It was
They're
so
gone.
hot. His legs were sweating. It was too
They were about to fall off.
Oh, it was too much. So anyway, so
Chapless.
Here's the chapless.
I have jeans on, but we're chapless now. This is morning television. Not too much.
This is what you get on the after show. Chapless DeLon.
Chapless. There's clothes under the chaps now, y'all. Not too much.
We can't do that on regular broadcast. Okay, so we have the rodeo forecast here the next 3 days. So warm and kind of windy today. It's going to get cooler tomorrow. Not frigid cold, but definitely cooler. And then it will get a little bit chilly coming up on Thursday. 7-day forecast shows that we may have the return of some showers too. About a 20% chance for light rain tomorrow and Thursday, up to 50% Friday, maybe a Friday morning kind of thing. And then heading into the weekend, everything looks fine. Most likely upper 70s for this weekend. So I would say if you bought yourself a pair of chaps and you've been itching to wear them, I mean, like you gotta wear them. Today might not be the day for you, but tomorrow you'll have a better opportunity, and the chap day is going to be Thursday. That's going to be chap.
I was a little early, but I got them in and got them out. Shout out to the Black Cowboy Museum who let me borrow their chaps just for the day.
I mean, you didn't want to wait because you don't know when the opportunity will really come again.
Exactly, and I wanted to wear it with the denim on denim, the Canadian
it looks
tuxedo.
good.
Canadian tuxedo. Speaking of what you just said, Friday is Black Heritage Day out here at the rodeo.
I'll
So
be
I'm
out
glad you
here.
brought that up. Good.
Let's check in with who are we going to next?
Nate and Shelby.
Okay.
I think
he's
they're
riding the
talking
horse.
horses.
That's right, guys. We're actually here with the cutting horses, and it's been a great performance all morning long. You got the performance side. You also have the warm-up side, if you will. Speaking of warm-ups, Shelby's with you. When you talk about warm-up acts, Shelby can get it done. But here's the thing. Have you enjoyed yourself this morning?
Oh, I've had a blast. I learned so much about cutting horse competition just in the last few weeks. Did a story with Scott Ferguson, a cutting horse trainer. And so just to see all this in action, from seeing the training aspect of it to now the competition aspect of it, it's been incredible.
So let me take a moment to introduce the man who is standing between Shelby and me. So I'm sitting here. You guys know I've been covering sports for 35 years, and I have a good eye. Okay, and I can tell a good athlete when I see one, and it doesn't take very long. It's like 2 seconds, you can tell. Not only is the guy a heck of a cutting horse rider, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Cutting Horse Hall of Fame. Bubba Matlock out of Lovelady, Texas. He's $1 million rider, and I looked at his cutting horse, and here's what got me. He got off one cutting horse and got on another. So that told me right there, okay, something
guy knows
special,
what he's doing.
Something special about this guy. So I saw him come up. I said, "Hey, can you talk to him for a minute?" He said, "Yes, no problem." How you doing?
I'm doing great. You?
I'm good, man. So tell me about this business. How long have you been doing this?
A little over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Lovelady, Texas.
Yes, sir. Well, I lived up north in Weatherford for 20 years and moved back home, and went back to the roots and family and all that. So I moved home, and I've been there for about 5 years now. Yeah.
I find the cutting horse competition fascinating. I was telling Shelby, and Shelby was also telling me. We were trading stories, war stories, if you will. I rode a $250,000 cutting horse about 5 years ago here at the rodeo. I didn't ride the horse rode me.
Right.
Same with Shelby. I think something happened, a malfunction.
I was getting a lesson from Scott on how to, cut, and the mic pack that I was using was not a conventional mic pack, and it ended up flying off the horse, getting tangled in the horse's back legs.
A little bit.
Not a little bit, a lot of it. The horse just took off into the edge of the arena, and I thought I was about to get chunked off.
Yeah, that'll
Thankfully,
happen.
the horse stopped, so it was terrifying.
So I want to ask you, how many horses did you bring?
I brought 6 horses.
Now tell us why you brought 6 horses.
Well, I brought 2 open horses for me, and then I brought 3 amateur horses for my boss and my niece, which is showing here today, and I bought a turnback horse. which is the horses you see out front are in the corner while the people are cutting.
The helpers, if you will.
Yes,
Okay.
the helper.
So you're also a trainer, is that correct?
Yes, I work for Robinson Ranch in Crockett, Texas, and I'm the resident trainer there.
Okay, now you got to kind of explain how you went into the Hall of Fame. What did you do to get in there? I know what has to happen with basketball, football, baseball,
Right.
track, golf, all that stuff. But what about cutting horses?
In the cutting horse, you have to win over $1 million to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So.
That's it, though. Is that the only?
Well, no. You can also. There's 3 major aged events in Fort Worth: the Futurity, the Super Stakes, and the Derby. And if you win one of those, you get inducted also. I believe that's how it works. I'm pretty sure.
Now, I don't want to insult you, but please, pardon my ignorance. I don't know, because I spoke with a lady who's a 7-time world champion.
Yes.
You know who we're talking about?
Miss Mary Jo Milner.
Man, she doesn't want to be interviewed on TV, so I'm not going to interview her on TV. She's over there right now. She is a 7-time world champion. This lady right here. Eight-time world champion.
Yeah.
She is amazing, and I spoke with her. She did not want to talk on camera. She's busy right now. But I have to ask you, have you won a world championship?
No, I haven't, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish this year, as far as, because there's 2 different ways to go about it. Like the weekend cutting like this, you go every weekend and to qualify to take the top 15 in each class to the world finals, and that's how you win a world championship. Now, the aged events, which is horses, say like Futurity is 3-year-olds, then you can show your 4-year-olds, and then they have a 5- and 6-year-old class. If you win one of those, it's pretty prestigious. To do both is pretty awesome. I've been second at the Futurity, but it's tough business. There's a lot of great hands, great showmen, great horses, great customers. I mean, it's pretty tough business.
But a huge bulk of this competition, what I learned, is the ability of the horse. I mean, you spend at least 2 years training these horses, exactly. And if you don't have a great horse, then you're kind of screwed, right?
You've got to have a great horse to compete.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not going to do very good.
For someone who wants to get into this business, and we have about 2 minutes left, for someone who wants to get into this business, how do they do it?
Well, you can go online to nchacutting.com, and they have a list of trainers throughout every state or your area, and pick up the phone and call. I'm sure
you.
Yeah. It's just like getting lessons for any sport, I guess.
Yeah, and you can visit with a trainer wherever you live, or and just kind of get an idea of what it's going to cost and what you need and all that. Everybody will be real helpful.
Yeah. I tell you what, again, fascinating. This is just fascinating. This guy's amazing. I watched him, and you can tell he's so smooth on a horse. It's almost embarrassing, okay? Especially for
we could never.
No,
never.
Not at this point.
Well, yeah, you could if you did it like every day, like we do.
Well, I guess that's true.
It's a tough business, and it takes a lot of work, but it's rewarding at the end also.
Yeah,
so, over $1 million. You heard him. All right, guys, we got to get it back. And so it's been fun out here. We've had an amazing time. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for getting to know Bubba Matlock. I'm sure you can find this on our website. You know where it is. And Shelby, got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I've had a great time, and you guys, it's opening day. There's plenty of time left. Come on down, Rodeo Houston.
All right, guys, back to you guys. Back to Sally and Mike.
Yeah, you have to look. It's different every day.
All right. Well, I think we're back to us.
I think so.
We are. It's been quite a day, hasn't it?
Yes. It has been quite a day, but it's just getting started out here at NRG Park. So the rides are starting to go. We're starting to hear like some rock music.
They were playing, some AC/DC a minute ago. I think they were just testing out the speakers.
Testing it out.
What they were doing.
Melissa and DeLon are taking off because DeLon's got to anchor the noon news.
Yeah.
And Melissa needs a ride.
Yeah.
So we're being completely transparent with you, and Melissa didn't want to have to hightail it like all the way to another lot where a lot of us are parked.
That's the thing. When you come here, I wouldn't fault you for wearing tennis shoes at all.
No.
I mean, as fashionable as it is to wear boots and all that stuff, you're doing so much walking.
Yes. And if you've got kids, I do feel a little bad for the little ones who their parents like put them in that because they wanted the cute
want them to be
pictures.
cute.
But then it's like by the end of the rodeo, they're not happy.
Yeah.
There's bound to be meltdowns out here if you have a kid younger than 8 years old, probably. So just maybe pack a change of clothes, pack plenty of snacks. You're allowed to bring in a little food. Because there's not a clear bag policy out here, which is kind of nice. I mean, you can't bring in like a burger.
Good. Yeah.
But you
so
could
you
bring in a granola bar or some goldfish or something just to like get yourself or your kids through the day. Bye, guys.
Here they go. Drive safely.
They're going to go through the Crown House
definitely
one time.
Tune in to Fox 26 News at noon. DeLon's going to do a quick turnaround.
Yeah, he does, right?
There.
He's got to get the, well, good things he already took the chaps off.
Yeah.
So
he might still have the jeans on because sitting at the anchor desk, he won't be able to see what, what he's wearing.
You never know.
Do you know, I came across an amazing tip last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago that I learned, and that is something they have inside, which are the cell phone chargers. Have you used those?
I've never used them, but a lot of people do.
Awesome, and you would think, I know it's like blows your mind. They're free.
Yes.
So there's this, looks like a vending machine kind of thing inside in the NRG Center, and it's from NRG.
Yeah.
And you take one of these, you have to like sign it out.
Right.
I think you put your card in there.
But it's free.
It's free,
Yeah. Okay.
And so you could charge your phone 15, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. And when you return it, that's it.
And
you don't have to pay
the
anything.
problem is with the carnival tickets, it's all on your phone now for most people, right?
Right.
So if your phone dies, then so does your ability to use your carnival pack that you bought.
Yeah.
So the chargers come in, really
It's
handy.
there's a little bit of a learning curve too. Like if you have the tickets on your phone, and let's say you split up, mom, dad split up, right? And you want to give half your tickets, you've got to send them to the other person.
So you can send them, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
but within the app, there's a little bit, so I don't want anybody caught off guard. That's one of those things that it can be frustrating if you get here and you didn't know you were going to have to do that.
Right.
It's something to be aware of.
Yes, yeah. So just a reminder too, a lot of kids' spring breaks start on March the 11th, that week. Is that when your kids are out?
Yes.
Okay, so that week's going to be crowded.
That week's going to be very crowded.
But a lot of kids do also have off next Tuesday, March the 5th, and I thought that's going to maybe catch parents by surprise. So that Monday or Tuesday may be a good day to come out, and
My
not
girls
have
have Friday off. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, some kind of teaching plan. Sometimes there's like a random teacher's planning day or something.
So if you can find a day where maybe your district has off but others don't, that's always
That is the key to everything.
Plan,
Find a day that your district has off and nobody else does.
Nobody else,
That is definitely the key to all
because really
this.
it is more enjoyable without the
if you can avoid
extreme
the big
crowds,
crowds,
if you can avoid that.
Yeah, definitely.
But any time I've been out here, it's so big that I've never had like a major issue.
Right. There's always some place to go.
There's always someplace
unless you're waiting in line for a Trill Burger, in which case, I don't care when you come here, it's going to be a long, long wait.
Not waiting in that line.
All right, well, I think that'll do it for us for the after show.
Yep, I think so. Okay, so the next time we will see you is on Fox 26 News at noon, and then a lot of our evening staff will be out here tonight for the news at 5 and 6. Have a great one, everybody.
I know you mentioned earlier that you took tissue samples for toxicology testing, is that correct?
Yes.
And what were the results of those toxicology tests?
The toxicology was negative for alcohol and common drugs of abuse.
Okay. Nothing further?
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Doctor, I first want to ask you about your classification. Now, you've been doing autopsies, you said, I think, 33,000 or 3,500?
Yes, 3,500.
3,500. How long, how many years have you done autopsies?
I came to the OMI straight out of fellowship in August of 2014.
Okay, so 10 years.
Yes.
And you are very familiar with the classification system, whether it be a homicide or accident, correct?
Yes.
And in this case, you ruled the cause and manner of death to be accident.
Yes.
And in a homicide, your definition you gave was to rule it a homicide, it has to be a volitional act caused by another to cause death, correct?
Yes.
And volitional means purposeful?
No.
What does volitional mean?
Volitional volitional means a voluntary act. It doesn't mean that there is it doesn't always mean there's intent. You don't need intent. So something as simple as pulling a trigger could be the volitional act.
Okay, but in this case, you reviewed reports and you got information, and based on that, your determination was that this was an accident.
Yes.
And when you said accident, I think you described that as what must not be present is intent to cause death.
There should not be intent to cause fear, harm, or death.
Okay.
That's correct.
So in the materials you read and the information you reviewed, you did not find an intent to cause death by anybody.
That's correct.
Okay. And with regard to that classification, that is an official state of New Mexico ruling, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that is an accident?
Yes.
Okay. I know in your notes that you documented the approximate time of the incident was about 13:48. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that is 1:48?
Yes.
Okay. And then you documented that Ms. Hutchins arrived at the hospital approximately 15:20. Is that right?
Yes.
And that is 3:20.
Yes.
Now, that is approximately an hour and a half delay. Is that right?
Yes.
And you knew that she was being attended to by EMT personnel and there was a helicopter waiting to take her to the hospital, is that right?
Yes.
And do you have any idea why there was a delay in the hospital taking her?
No.
Okay. Now, during your findings, you did a CT scan before your external examination, correct?
Yes.
Did you find evidence of prior medical intervention from Ms. Hutchins?
Yes.
And what was that evidence of medical intervention?
She had been intubated. The intubation was actually in the wrong place. It was in the esophagus. It was removed when she arrived at the hospital, but she was also re-intubated into her esophagus and not into the airway. She had also had surgical intervention. So they had opened up the chest cavities on both sides due to the presence of a gunshot wound. They had also opened up the protective covering surrounding the heart to try to do what they call manual cardiac massage to restart the heart. It's my understanding that she was pulseless upon arrival and non-responsive and not breathing.
You said that she had an intubation, then another intubation. Is that right?
Yes.
And they were both in the esophagus?
Yes.
Now, an esophageal intubation can be a dangerous situation, correct?
It's an ineffective way to respirate someone or to establish air.
And in fact, can that potentially cause an anoxic situation, lack of oxygen to the brain?
Well, the injury itself is what causes the anoxic situation, but the intubation into the esophagus isn't giving adequate airway establishment.
Because, doctor, when you do the intubation, you're trying to get it into the bronchus, correct?
Yes.
And the bronchus, can you tell the jury what the bronchus is?
The bronchus, the main stem bronchus is the main airway that goes to both lungs. It eventually divides into a left and right bronchus, and it goes to each lung.
And so by putting it in the esophagus, that is basically sending oxygen into the stomach.
Yes.
And part of your notes, I know you indicated that Ms. Hutchins was complaining of shortness of breath.
Yes.
And so an intubation into her esophagus would not have assisted with that, with helping her to get that oxygen.
That's correct.
Did you also find on your CT examination that there was a chest needle that was tried to put in? They
attempted to put in a central line, which means you're trying to get fluid to in the most effective way possible. Because of her situation, they had to put blood products directly into her heart.
And did that, based on your review of that CT exam, it looked like it did not go in properly?
No, it was in the heart.
Oh, it was?
I believe it was.
Okay. So that wasn't a shallow insertion?
I couldn't tell that based on the autopsy or the CT.
Okay. So the esophageal intubation, do you know who performed that? Do you know who did that?
I do not.
The CPR efforts you observed, do you know who performed those?
Not off the top of my head, no. I would have to review the medical records.
Based on everything that you saw as a medical doctor, had this not taken an hour and a half, had Miss Hutchins received more timely medical intervention, could she have possibly survived these wounds?
That's difficult for me to answer that question because I'm not a doctor who treats gunshot wounds in the chest, and I have a very skewed view regarding the lethality of gunshot wounds. So that's outside my purview.
When you were interviewed, didn't you say she possibly could have survived?
Potentially, but I'm not the best person to ask for that question because I don't treat patients.
Okay, but you previously had said that. You
Yes.
acknowledge that. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further.
Council Coach, real quick.
All right, looks like there is a sidebar right now, but if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, we are listening in to day 4 of testimony, live, raw, and unfiltered, in the Rust movie shooting trial here. Again, this is day 4 and is coming in courtesy Court TV as we are hearing the testimony from the medical examiner there. Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was the armorer for that movie Rust and is fighting charges of involuntary manslaughter and evidence tampering at a trial now in day 4. Now, a trial date was also set for Alec Baldwin. That's going to be in July on a single charge of involuntary manslaughter in the death of a cinematographer on set. This happening back in 2021. We know that Baldwin has also pleaded not guilty to that charge. Again, we are hearing testimony here from the medical examiner, and we expect this to go on. This trial is expected to last for several weeks here, and it looks like they are going to let the medical examiner step down and call yet another witness. So I do want to head to a quick 2-minute commercial break here at 11:28 on the East Coast and 8:28 on the West Coast. You're watching Live Now from Fox. We'll be right back with more coverage on the other side. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. The time 11:30 over on the East Coast and 8:30 on the West Coast. My name is Josh Breslow, and I'm here to bring you all of your top stories and live events from across the country and across the world. Take a live look here at one of our many images we have set up at primary polling locations over in Michigan. We have these cameras all over the state right now. As we do know, voting is underway. Don't forget tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That is when you can join us here on Live Now from Fox. Andrew Kraft will have extensive coverage, live coverage here as those results do come in. In the meantime, I want to get to some of the other topics that we are covering here, as a partial government shutdown could be days away. President Biden will try to strike a deal at the White House today to stop it from happening. But as Doug Luzader reports from Capitol Hill, he is quickly running out of time. Again, Doug Luzader filing this report a short time ago.
The first of two government funding deadlines will be on Friday this week, but these discussions at the White House will go well beyond just that. President Biden enjoying the relatively friendly confines of late-night TV overnight and making the case for bolstering U.S. foreign aid.
We don't have people fighting in those areas, but we're providing the wherewithal for them to be able to protect themselves.
Biden will make that same pitch this morning at the White House, meeting with congressional leaders from both parties and urging them to pass a new aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And, by the way, also keep the government open after Friday.
We Democrats are working as hard as we can and exploring every method to avoid a shutdown.
But the government shutdown signs could be back up in coming days, with Congress facing funding deadlines both this Friday and next Friday. We've certainly been here before, with Republican Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell concerned about the potential blowback.
The task at hand will require that everyone rows in the same direction toward clean appropriations and away from poison pills.
But much will hinge on Republicans in the House under Speaker Mike Johnson, who have pressed for reduced government funding and other measures, and the most likely outcome now could be another continuing resolution to push back the deadlines once again.
I think it's very possible. I think at this point, the best that conservative Republicans can hope for, though, is some type of a continuing resolution that goes really the rest of the fiscal year. That would result in cutting the budget by about 1%.
And as it stands now, lawmakers in the House are not scheduled to return to work until tomorrow, just 2 days before that first deadline. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
All right, Doug, thank you so much. And a story we've been talking about a lot all throughout the morning, as we've heard from several lawmakers, those lawmakers looking for ways, they say, to protect Alabama in vitro fertilization services after several providers paused treatment in the wake of a state Supreme Court ruling that frozen embryos could be considered children under a state law. We've heard legislators prepare separate proposals in the House and Senate that would seek to prevent a fertilized egg from being recognized as a human life or an unborn child under state laws in Alabama until it's implanted in a woman's uterus. A lot to this, and again, we've been hearing from those lawmakers this morning, but I do want to bring in Jasmine Matlock, a partner at M&H Legal Services, to help break it all down. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning. There is, as I mentioned, a lot to it, so I'm hoping you can help kind of clarify some of the questions that so many people have.
Absolutely.
All right, so first off, I want to go back to basics here. Can you kind of explain to me what this ruling was and really what it means overall?
Sure. So this is an Alabama Supreme Court ruling, and it's specific to the Alabama Wrongful Death of Minors Act. This is Alabama legislation that was enacted in 1872. What this case essentially says that is within the confines of this statute, these frozen extrauterine embryos are considered unborn children. What this means is that the parents or legal representatives of these embryos can sue someone for their wrongful death. This includes physicians, clinics, and hospitals.
Yeah, and as you'd imagine, obviously a pretty controversial topic, so there are people with so many questions here. What effects does it appear this is already having in the state of Alabama?
We are already seeing the effects of this in the state of Alabama. Several of the largest fertility clinics in the state of Alabama have halted IVF treatment in the wake of this ruling. The fertility treatment clinics are waiting to hear further clarification on whether they are going to be faced with astronomical legal exposure in wake of this opinion.
Is it likely this could lead to several other laws in other states across the country?
Absolutely. Several other states throughout the country have very similar legislation to Alabama. So I think that we're going to see similar cases pop up across the country. And I also think we're going to see these other states emulate this ruling in Alabama.
Do we know if any similar cases, I guess, have already been heard in other states?
So we don't know of any other cases like this that have been heard in other states. Right now, Alabama has the first case. This is a first of its kind. I do think shortly hereafter we will see other cases pop up around the country, but for now it's just Alabama.
Gotcha. And will this now go to the U.S. Supreme Court? Is that kind of the next step, or was that, I guess, the end of the road for it?
It's really unclear at this point whether the United States Supreme Court will take up this case. After Roe versus Wade was overturned, it makes me think that they probably will not hear this case. But at this point, it just remains unclear.
And talking about Roe versus Wade, what role did the overturning of that law have in this specific legislation?
So after Roe versus Wade was overturned, Alabama actually enacted legislation in 2022, which completely banned abortions. It is a felony in Alabama for a physician to perform an abortion. And so the overturning of Roe versus Wade and this total ban on abortions, it opened up the door to the consideration of things that extend beyond abortion, like we're seeing in this case.
Are you surprised at all that this is receiving such national attention, and why is it being talked about nationwide when we're talking about an Alabama Supreme Court ruling?
I think the reason that this is garnering so much nationwide attention, honestly, is because it's a first case of its kind. We haven't seen anything like this before. I also think that in the wake of Roe versus Wade being overturned, there's a lot of speculation about whether we're going to see an entirely new legal landscape in this area of law.
All right, Jasmine Matlock, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. Anything else you want to add at all before I let you go?
I think that's it. But if you guys have any more questions, let me know.
All right. Thank you again for being here with us.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we do have several live events that are getting underway here, and I do want to head out to New York City. I can see that Mayor Eric Adams is speaking. I do want to dip in to see if he is discussing the migrant crisis there in New York City, a hot topic over the last several months and really a couple years now.
And they're leaning even harder into showing how well we have done. Moody's, S&P, Fitch, and KBRA are all saying the same things. This administration is making the right decisions today to ensure a better tomorrow for all New Yorkers. Real hats off and kudos to Jock Jihad for taking all the criticism for those that have done no fiscal management, but all of a sudden they're experts on how to get it right. The experts are saying we are doing it right. We have accomplished this through proactive fiscal management, the stabilization of the asylum seeker spending, and a strong economic recovery. But what does a strong bond rating mean to everyday New Yorkers? It just doesn't translate, but simply put, it means continued investment in the city's bonds help support funding to build and maintain schools, city streets, parks, and other critical infrastructure that spans the 5 boroughs. While we must remain vigilant, we're not out of the woods, and we have been clear on that. We need to get support from the state and federal partners, but we're not sitting on the sideline. We know we have the obligations and responsibility to navigate the city through the fiscal crises and through the migrant and asylum seeker crisis. We are cautiously optimistic about our financial future. The New York City, as we like to say, our word is our bond. This is the strong management of the city's finances. As mayor of the city of New York, I can say with confidence, New York City isn't coming back. New York City is back. And we have a short video that we would like to show you to display how excited we are about what we've always known, that we will bring this city back.
This just in, New York City's word is its bond.
Drastic budget cuts across several city agencies have now been canceled.
The news comes just one day after independent credit rating agency Moody's praised the city for its handling of the budget gaps created by the migrant crisis.
The mayor said, quote, "After 2 years of hard work, we are heading in the right direction."
Investments in our bonds are investments in our city. It will build and maintain schools, streets, parks, and other critical infrastructure. Our strong bond rating makes it clear that New York City isn't coming back. It is back. Crime is down, jobs are up, and the independent financial experts are saying the Adams administration's steady hand is building even stronger bonds across the 5 boroughs.
Why don't we open to questions, but I cannot emphasize enough. You have experts for reasons. Experts analyze, and it removes the opinions and focus on facts. The experts have raised our bonds year one. In 2022, they raised our bond rating. They reinforced that in year 2024. Somewhere, we have to report that. We're doing the job, folks. We managed 179,000 migrants and asylum seekers. No New Yorkers were laid off. No tax increase, minimum cut to services. We're doing it. And it may be challenging for some people to acknowledge it, but this team is doing it during some of the most difficult time. I tell them all the time, we're going to be a retrospective appreciated administration. But please report that, Katie. Why don't we open some questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, there were at least 40, possibly 80 migrants located in a storefront on Liberty Avenue in Richmond Hill. Do you know why they were there? Are they squatting? Were they located or placed there? Is it some sort of black market rental? And my understanding is that there was initial complaint, that's why it was investigated, because there were e-bikes either in front of or in the premises, and we're aware of the dangers of that.
I got to call around 12:30, 1 a.m., where I was updated with this sort of situation was taking place in Manhattan for potential barricaded person. I was also updated on this. The system did its job. It was first responded by, I believe, FDNY, and then DOB came in and made sure that those who were there were removed, and they were given the services that were available. This was not brought to our attention until we had city agencies go out and investigate. We're still investigating exactly what happened here. When you have situations like what we are facing here, there's some that's going to attempt to exploit it. There's some are going to attempt to do illegal housing. So we have an obligation with DOB, FDNY, and all of our services to respond and take necessary action. That's what was done last night, and we're still looking at exactly what took place. So this started with a 311 complaint, and the city responded accordingly.
So you're listening there to the weekly news conference from New York City Mayor Eric Adams, addressing questions right now about the migrant crisis and the rise of violence that we've seen in the city resulting from a number of migrants there. He was asking for some federal aid to help ease the situation. 11:44 on the East Coast and 8:44 on the West Coast. We're going to head to a quick break, but more live, raw, and unfiltered coverage here on the other side. You're watching Live Now from Fox. Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox, and you are taking a live look over a very dark Israel-Gaza border on day 144 of the war. President Biden saying that a ceasefire in Gaza could be just days away. I do want to bring in Fox's Mike Tobin joining us live from Israel with the latest. And good morning, Mike, or I guess I should say good evening to you out there.
It is good evening out here. And you talk about Biden with those comments. He said it yesterday, ice cream cone in hand, that he got information from his national security advisor that the talks in Doha were going well and a ceasefire could be agreed upon as early as Monday. Now, as soon as he coughed that statement out, both the Israelis and representatives Hamas said they're not so confident that a deal can be reached. And the Qataris are playing a key role in these discussions as the discussions are happening in Doha. And the Qatari foreign minister said if he was that optimistic, his disposition would be quite a bit different. What we know about what's happening in the talks really comes from leaks, and the numbers change quite a bit. But what you usually see with these talks, first of all, aid to the Palestinian. You're talking to the Palestinians. We're hearing from USAID about $53 million. The prisoner swaps are a component of this, and they're always lopsided. You get a lot more Palestinian prisoners out of Israeli jails than you do get a release of Israeli hostages. If you think back to Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier who was kidnapped in 2006. 1,000 Palestinians got out of prison for him. Right now, you're talking about 40 hostages potentially to be released, according to the leaks that we've seen thus far, and dozens and dozens of Palestinian prisoners who would be released from Israeli jails, at least what we're hearing so far. So you have the president very optimistic that it will result in a ceasefire, not an end of the war. It's important to note that. A ceasefire, the guns go quiet for a time while the hostages and prisoners would be exchanged, but it does not mean an end of the war. The Israeli Prime Minister, for one, has been insistent that this war ends when Hamas has been disabled. Josh?
And Mike, a lot of questions arising here because you not only have the situation in Gaza in that specific area, but also there's talk about this offensive in Rafah, and it appears that that is still, quote unquote, imminent at this point.
It is. Keep in mind, Rafah is in Gaza, so to say. It's because it's in the Gaza Strip. It's the very southern end of the Gaza Strip, and it's on the border with Egypt. And all of the Palestinian refugees have been pushed south, and about 1.5 million of them are in Rafah right now. So that's part of the difficulty and part of the threat. If the Israeli ground forces will go in there, the first thing you have to do is evacuate the Palestinian civilians out of Rafah. That's going to be a Herculean task. The Israeli commanders are said to have submitted to the war cabinet a plan for how you get the Palestinian civilians out of the town of Rafah before you execute this ground offensive. And then you have the difficulty with the idea that the Hamas fighters could just blend in with the civilian population, go with them. You could even possibly see a scenario where they could be smuggling hostages along with them in the crowd. So it's a very complex situation. You have the world community watching it with a lot of fear because there's a great likelihood that you're going to have more and more civilian casualties pile up in the event that the Israelis finally do execute this ground offensive into Rafah. What's holding them up, we don't know. But as long as there are talks about hostages and hostage releases, you would have to think that's at least some of